Coming at you with a little sketch session of the letter A. Don't quite know that yet though, so let's get into it. Got a bag here of letter tiles. I'm going to give it a good shuffle. Make sure we get something random. Let's see what we get. Oh boy, we're starting with an A. I want to start in with like a little straight letter here, and we can just box it up. I like to almost keep a pretty, I don't know, medium angle to my A here. If I go too wide, I feel like it gets like really fat, and I don't know, I always just like to keep it more of like a tall and skinny letter. So we can go around the structure here with some boxes and then start building it up. I actually didn't leave a whole lot of room for our window in there. Might have to adjust a little bit. All right, let's see how can we get this window a little bit bigger. I think we'll just change our angle modestly, maybe tighten it up even a touch further. I find that fun to start with something and then throw it away right away. So you can tell we're going to be working through this for real. Also, I do like to, I don't know, you see I kicked the right leg out here a little bit more. Sometimes find that gives a better stance to the A. You know, leading, when you read left to right, you know, it like feels like the right side always has to kick out a little bit more. Let's add a little foot to it too. I don't know, since this crossbar kind of chewed up all of the length of this left side, I might extend the left side here a little bit too. And while you're drawing along with this, if I go too fast or you need to slow down, I know you can change the speed of the video a little bit, so feel free to give yourself some extra grace there with if I move a little bit quickly. Admittedly, I'm trying to slow down and make sure I talk through all my moves so you can follow along, but we'll see how that goes. I'm sure I'll go quick at times, just naturally. This little leg kick out here, I don't know, kind of looks funny, so I think I might change that up. I'll probably just erase it away completely for the start. Thinking maybe that comes down, maybe we could even go back inward. That might work a little bit better. Pick the other side. And for that angle, I'm probably just picking what feels natural there. Not much justification to it. I'm just kind of, as the letter comes in, maybe it's going back towards its starting point over there. I might cheat a little bit, make this window a tad bigger than it naturally would be. Just add some extra style in there. My hope with this series is get to experiment with letters and just kind of sit down and chill a little bit, feel out what different styles work well with different letters. Actually, I extended this line a little bit, so maybe I'll extend that top end too. Get a little hat, kind of like a backwards bill going off the brow of the A. I feel like anytime I try to orate and describe letters, I'm always giving it like physicality to it. So I don't know if anybody else sees that when they're drawing letters. I feel like I don't know, half the time it's like really apparent and other times it kind of sneaks up on me. I did chamfer this corner, so I just like chopped the corner off where it had gone to a point, and instead gave it a little bit of a edge to it. Yeah, I have noticed in other tutorials, if I'm off center too much, it can kind of get the letters a little bit wonky. So I think I'll learn a little bit here as we go through. Okay, sweet. You know, that came together. I'm gonna erase away some of these interior ones. Take away that crossbar. I with A's and like, I don't know, like M's and stuff, I like to give a little bit of a cut right where the bars cross. I think it helps to like show the flow of this cross member coming across the two vertical lines. It gives it, I don't know, like a little bit of a cheek to it, like it feels like a little lip. I feel like maybe a chamfer on this corner would be fitting as well. Helps show that like that line's coming around and kicking back out this way. Cool. That's a nice little straight letter to kick us off. You can see I'm changing my body position quite a bit. If I wasn't making a video, I'd be spinning my page all around. But that makes for some bad footage for sure. Makes it hard to follow. So I taper down and you'll see me move my shoulders quite a bit trying to get a better approach to some of these straight sections. And if you look at yours compared to mine, some of like the big opportunities for wonkiness or the letter getting out of sorts is that angle that you pick to start, and also think about the line thickness here. You can see I've got, you know, kind of a, I don't know, where's our A go? A little the width of a tile here, and it's consistent, right? All these sections are pretty much a width. It gets a little bit skinnier here, and that's, I don't know, just a little stylistic choice. I could go back through and I could thicken that up so it matches perfectly. I don't mind how this looks, so it's not by any means like a hard, fast rule that it has to be the same thickness all the way around. Maybe when we get to the piece, we can intentionally vary it up a little bit more. But some sections, especially ones that connect, it's really helpful to start with them being kind of even and consistent, and then you can, you know, add little bits of taper or width changes throughout. Something that I kind of naturally did here, as you can see, we have the smaller width on the crossbar. The smaller width is present here, a smaller width is present in the tab at the top. So yeah, just keep that in mind, that maybe your accents throughout the letter are a little bit skinnier than the core, like the beat, not the beat, the like meat structure of it. And yeah, I feel like that just set you up for some good success there. For a throwy A, honestly, one of the first letters I ever styled pretty heavily was like a lowercase a. I feel like that's a very approachable structure there. So I always liked trying those out. Something about like the swoop to the brow looked always cool. And then I can show you I styled the middle with like a star in there. So with the lowercase a and like a throwy style, I'm gonna keep this like super bulbous and round. I'm gonna follow this center line, so I'm basically gonna do like a big looping shape here off this top line. You can see that kind of curls it up. And then similarly, you know, this stroke downward here, I'm gonna just see where that rounds out. I'm doing a lot of like finger stroke here. Leaving my hand planted, and that kind of gives you like almost a radius to work with to draw your arc. And then I'll just round the end. And this is really just to get our base. Once we have this down, we can start adding some extra stuff. Of course, the bottom circle here will just be a nice little circle. The brow here looks like it's coming down at a little bit too much of an angle for me, and that changes like the, I don't know, like the aggression of the letter, or like the brow or the emotion of the letter, like how it kind of translates to the viewer quite a bit. So I might change that. I might open this up and try to tilt it upwards a little bit. And so I can kind of cheat and do that. I can kind of just make a more horizontal line over here and round that out. And that helps to, I don't know, now it's almost like a laser eye coming out of there. Oftentimes the negative space and like the interior of the letter, for me, it looks like, you know, the eye of the letter. So I like to be intentional with that. If it is kind of looking too grimacy, I'll mess around with it. And now we've got that straight section going into kind of your wavy. I'm going to clean up a little bit here so you can see just that shape. And actually, I'll clean up some of the circles and stuff in here too. Let's get us back to a clean baseline. Because yeah, that helps me see the letter a little bit. So right now, I'm seeing this section is super skinny. We made this quite a bit thicker by blowing it out there. So I'm gonna think, yeah, maybe we add a second bulb down here. And sometimes that's like a hand behind kind of like rotated there. Give it a dap to your next letter maybe. And then I might just take this a little liberty to make that a little bit wider. And I think there's something fun we can do with the two letters there, but I'm gonna erase away so we can see it kind of just as the exterior line there. And then at this phase, I'm kind of almost like letting my eyes go a little hazy and trying to see what should be there. It's kind of a funny thing to do, but as you sketch and style more, you're going to feel out what the lines on the page are actually trying to like almost say back to you. And for me, I'm seeing this line a little bit extra. So I think it's like that curl's kind of overlapping a little bit, and what I can do is add that back in so we get a little bit of more value, I guess, out of the backside here. And now the center round here is looking way small. It basically is, I don't know, as I read through it, feels like it's the same size as our extra little addition on the side. So I'm thinking we go make this larger. I'm not gonna go too much further north there. I'm just gonna make it up over in this section. It intersects well with our top brow, so that feels good. I might just kind of feel it out. Go a couple times around. Erase away a little bit. Yeah, that's coming together pretty good. So now it's almost like with that brow in there, you kind of almost get like the face of like a semi-truck. We could easily go for just a wide open O shape to the mouth there. That's a fun style to do. It looks pretty good right now. I mentioned earlier, I used to style it with like a half a star. So I would come in and just do the left half of a star. And that's a lot more trouble to paint and style up without having, pencils and sketches and whatnot involved. But I'll give you a couple options there of what might look good. Just a fun opportunity to do some different negative spaces in there. And a lot of people are tempted to do like a tab off of the circle there. Some letters it works well. I feel like lowercase a is best to keep it nice and simple there, and it'll look kind of clean and consistent. I think that looks a little bit better than the star, so I'll keep with that. I think might as well do an uppercase one nice and quick too. So similar style with an uppercase, probably have a little bit more to work with there. So when I structure out an uppercase A, normally I'll have a little bit more arc to the line with the straight letter over there. We were really linear. Everything was straightforward. I like to put a little bit more arc if I'm prepping up for a throwy. And I'll kind of just do a left and right. I'm back to extending my right leg a little bit longer. I think we'll just ride with that. And then for our cross, since we have an arc coming to the left, an arc coming to the right, you almost inadvertently need an arc rounded down with kind of like a smile shape to it. I don't know where that really comes from. You know, sometimes I think of it as like, all right, I'm drawing a circle and naturally my hand's going around that circle, and if you know the bottom line here is your cross member, just shift that up and now you have a very circular way to illustrate the A. I don't know if that's accurate, but to me that's where it feels like I can keep that rounded shape that Throwy needs. So anytime I'm thinking of, you know, styling new letters, a lot of my horizontal lines end up arcing upwards. You know, we saw it up there, we'll see it here, and we can go after it. So like we did over there, I think we'll just start with getting our rounded shape. And the uppercase A actually gives us some really fun opportunities to add some extra features to the Throwy. You know, this lowercase a is a little simple after all, but we should be able to style this up nicely. And right now we're just, I guess, like structuring ourselves. Once you get your structure down, then you get to have some fun with how to like get it to flow and draw quickly. So maybe we can talk about that too. So we'll get our little cross member here. And I'm actually going to start going pretty aggressive on the rework here. So I'm going to change up my letter quite a bit to try to get it to be a little bit more Throwy-esque. Because right now, it kind of, you're just, I don't know, doing a kind of hybrid style where stuff's a little bit more rounded. So let's get some more like bulbous action here. So at the bottom of your line, I'm just going to do a huge, huge round there. And at this point, it's like, all right, where does that go? Oh, I kind of want to round that again. I think I should probably do one on the other side too. So let's just get a huge circle there. And the crossbar here is actually a little bit getting in the way. So maybe we'll start erasing away some stuff so we can see ourselves a little bit better. I think I'll run through an entire eraser just in this one video. Okay, so there we go. We opened ourselves up a little bit. Now we can see that a little bit better. So I hope you can still see that I'm going for that uppercase A. We kind of just have our left and rights right now. So here we go. We got a little round there. And then I think I kind of do like how it doubles up here. So you get kind of like another like dollop on the head to the A. This is actually a cool like opportunity here. You see this little line, how it is at a different angle as my circle at the bottom, and it kind of just pops out where those two meet. Something about A's and, you know, crisscross letters like this, they love to have a little bulb right before you go kind of to the foot area. And for me and this A, that's going to be probably where I pick my crossbar to hit. So you can imagine, I don't know, you see some of these lines here from the old crossbar. If I draw them in faintly, I kind of like where that's headed, because it gives like this bottom round as like a big foot section, and it gives this kind of really timid and small, like cutesy almost, like cheek to the crossbar. So I'm just going to follow that line across, and maybe we have it over here too. So we all of a sudden we have got like 4 bulbs on the left side, got 3 on the right, so that gives us some like inconsistency. So it's not going to be super printed, you know, you're going to have a little bit of everything. You don't want everything to just look like it's on a grid. And I don't know, kind of like we did with the tucks over here, I'll probably sketch that in a little bit so you get a little bit more out of like the part that's coming in. And that too, that can also help set the direction. So here I drew it a little bit too high, right? Take a look at yours right now, because that'll be important. If I drew that line like this, I don't have that crossbar going all the way up there. So be intentional with the direction in which it cuts in. So here mine was supposed to swoop across down here. I'm going to make sure that that has the correct angle as it goes down. And then, you know, we can kind of see where this crossbar would happen. So all of a sudden, you get the top of it here. I get my cheeks of the foot coming up, and now this is going to be where your negative zone is. So picking the angle of this is also helpful. So you can do it wrong, basically. So I'll try to describe what I'm going to go after here. So you see how this rounds in. Well, naturally, you'd think, okay, you could go and round it to the left, or you could go round it to the right. The kind of correct way to do this is, you see how you round and then you round kind of following that same direction. You kind of continue it. So all my rounds are going up and to the left, up and to the left. So just do the same here. As you come around, we're going to continue that round up and to the left. I'm just sketching that in. I don't think that looks good at all, but we'll get back to it once we do the same over here. So opposite, we're going to round to the right, find our point, and we're going to round to the right again. This is just kind of an informative step for me to say, all right, what is kind of my interior shape going to look like there? I'm going to start to erase away some of these rounds, because it does get hard to see that, right? If I got too much going on, I can't really visualize what is going on up in the top section here. So I'm just going to erase away down here. So now you almost have this like puffy cheek shape to it, which, great. I love that. Good for a throwy. We'll even, right now, we can do our cross member. So once again, we'll follow where that line should be. And now we've got kind of our chin. And now I'm seeing, you know, we got kind of this almost like too many shapes in there. I don't like that our bottom round exists over here, right? This line is what continued. Have it on the left side here as you come around. I don't like that those are involved. So I'm just gonna, you know, creatively decide, let's delete them. So no longer do I have that portion of it. I would much rather have the curl in here start and end right on our cross member. I'm going to do the same on this side. And now you can see we built up kind of that like puffy eye look. So you got two brows coming in, and it's kind of a Marshmallow Man style. So this is good, I guess, base structure. You know, there's not a whole lot of style to this A. And now is wow, kind of where I tweak and mess with things. So admittedly, we've got all this chunky stuff. I might make this even chunkier by making it much smaller. So the smaller I make this negative space on the inside, the more like puffy the entire letter is going to be, because it's like consuming in on itself. It's pushing in. And then I'm also seeing, you know, we've got a lot of volume up here. You know, you got a kind of a swift look. I might want something down on the bottom left over here. So I might change that style up a little bit. Let's go with like a little tab swoop. So it feels more like a hip coming off the bottom. All right, that's coming together. I don't love that, but I feel like if we add it over here too, we might get some cool footing on the A. And actually, we could do a little bit different on the top round here. I feel like its arc was a little bit tight compared to some of our other ones. So maybe we just broaden that up. Okay, now, yeah, now I'm getting like a little bit more flow to it. And this is the fun stage, because you can kind of like feel out what the letter wants you to do. So here, like if I'm drawing this in one go, I'm going to need to come all the way around, hit this, hit that, so you can kind of see what this shape can be made as, like a single stroke around. All right, I feel like I'm gonna darken up our line so we can see a little bit better. Ooh, a little aggressive on our pressure there. I wonder, so I'm just gonna do a freehand of this shape. See if I can learn anything about it. There was something here. I felt like maybe this angle. Ooh, that's pretty sweet. Okay, I like that. So have the foot here come around, and now you've almost got like a suggested like throwy path. So like come around here. That layer, you know, is supposed to go back down that way to get you to your left foot, but maybe you just leave it as kind of this like smile there. And then I didn't really love how the center came in. Actually, I kind of like that. So I might delete the middle entirely. Oh, maybe I feel like we almost got this angle wrong. I feel like that should be more of like a nose shape, and then we can do like a vertical here. Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I have to think through the throwy every time I do it to see what might work best. And throwies are really fun to style with like really rounded like points. So you can get it to like this really pointed like corner, you know, where the two lines come in and they're coming to a very, very pointed apex. But I really like when you have a round to that. So it almost looks like it's the thickness of, you know, a pass of spray paint. And that's easier to do with like markers, you know, pencil right here. I'm having to draw that intentionally in there, but when you're drawing with like a Sharpie or something, that can be really, really rewarding when you get that stroke just perfect enough. So yeah, I'm gonna go through, and don't feel too rushed here. I'm gonna take a minute or so and scratch in some stuff. So keep checking up on what this looks like versus yours. I'm gonna try and fill out our outline here so it looks nice. Kind of funny. I was at you know, thinking about what letter might come up first, and I was almost thinking if an S, an I, a V, or an E did, I'd have to like spoil it and not do any of those. But sure enough, we started with the first letter of the alphabet, so I guess that works for all intents and purposes. I think here in the future I'm gonna try to jump around a little bit with what letter we do. I don't think I want to go through and just print A, B, C, D all the way through. And if there's any like, I guess like special styles I should include. Definitely leave a comment down below with maybe something that you want some tips on, because I don't know, even, you know, in the last video I made that new fire style. It'd be really fun to share some of the ideas behind coming up with that and how I like to style those letters for the future. So, I mean, that's a freebie. I bet you I'll just do that anyways, but if there's any styles you know of that you want a little deep dive on, let me know, because it's always fun to, I don't know, study up the style a little bit. I think I'll try to keep it random for the letters, though. That'll be fun, so you can see my kind of authentic process as much as it is. You know, I've drawn these letters before, but more or less going at it kind of unknowingly keeps it fresh. I feel like I'm gonna change my ground in here a little bit, but not a bunch. And it will be interesting, like I can't you know, style this with other letters in mind right now, so it will be a little bit stuck in a vacuum with how each letter looks compared to its counterparts, but I think we can still come up with some unique footings and styles for each letter without, I don't know, making it look too generic and just stand alone. All right, I hope yours is coming along pretty good too. I'd like to say, you know, if, I don't know, even with my skinny one here, you can see it's a lot different than what I've come up with, but what the difference is between here, like if yours looks more like this, what I'm seeing differently is a lot of that width, you know, that plays into the style a ton. This is a very chunky throwy style. There are tons of different ways to make a throwy. You know, you can have super narrow letters, super tall. It really comes down to the whole name. You know, that's normally how I start picking it, is if I have one style, how does that complement the letters in my whole name? The most recent throwy style I kind of designed was that like fathead style where the eye was huge and like tilted on itself. And I built that style off of the eye because I felt like, okay, if this has a huge like head to it, how do the other letters play into that? And then kind of build it up from there. So if I were using this A for a full piece, I would try to find complements of like how we did that crisscross, and try to add that into some of my other letters, and see if I can get an overall style that repeats some features with the other letters as they have similar features. So whether that's, you know, crisscrossing, or if you have the negative space in the center of the, you know, the A there, how does that play into the negative space on your other letters? Because here we're able to say I like it the best because that works for this letter, but you might have another letter in your name that kind of takes priority and you want it defined based on that letter instead. That can be a tricky thing to judge which letter is going to get, you know, the right treatment, because if you jump around, right, if I keep this, you know, no empty space in there, and then my O next to it has a huge opening, you know, you might have some competing styles there. So sometimes I let certain letters drive a little bit more than others. Like I find that S, given that it's my first letter in my name, gets a little bit more priority to say, hey, does it set the style for the other letters? Okay, sweet. I think that came together pretty good. If you've got any questions about the throwy stuff, hit the comments. You know, all this is going to kind of hopefully be a little back and forth with me giving tips and all, and then you guys giving some feedback on if that was helpful, or hey, if anything's extra unclear and you need some text to flush it out, let me know. And my DMs are always open, and as well as like if you upload a video on YouTube and you've got your style in there, I can give you some tips. So just, you know, leave a link or a comment and I can check out what you're working with. All right. we'll take a little breath here, and then we'll get into the piece. So I feel like with like a Wildstyle A, we're gonna use our same structure as the straight letter, and maybe we can even take some tips from our throwy there with how things kind of transition. And honestly, we did pretty square letters, so let's maybe try a wide stretched A. Let's see what that looks like. I feel like should we keep the right side short because we kept it long over there? Maybe that'll force us to style the left side a little bit more. And right now, you can already see me like changing my pace a little bit. What I'm thinking about with this angle here is I'm envisioning, if I've got that angle going off to the left, how much of the letter is going to be over there? Like, what is it going to look like a little bit? So I'm kind of picturing what the letter will look like as it goes over there. I'll try to sketch in what I'm seeing kind of in my head, and I don't know where this comes from. It might be just a me thing, but I can almost feel where the letter is going to go, and that probably comes from drawing letters 1,000 times at this point. But I'm seeing like this angle is kind of talking like if I have the left upright going that way, it's going to need some footing and some extra material on this left side here. So I'll kind of just sketch that in, and that's mostly just a placeholder for me at this point. My head wants to go and define that more, but I think it's going to be helpful to do the right side a little bit here too. So I'll draw this in, and what I just saw, you see me redraw this stroke. I'm feeling, okay, if this line goes this way, where does it go next? And so I'm coming down here, and it feels like because I have this cut going down to the left, I almost need that same like kick up over here. And I just saw another line. So here, I'm almost getting like this double angle. So I'm gonna kick that up, and that feels like that's gonna be like a point. So you see how like the A, as it sits down, it has extra fans, extra footing that kicks it upright. That to me sets the kind of like gravity of the letter. And I'll just sketch that in a little bit. So let's get the bottom section of that line. And picking the angle, so like this line just extended off to infinity, that line extended off to infinity. At some point, they could make a hard point, right? You get a really pointy end to it. That could be your style. Since I already did a flat over here, I'm probably going to pick an angle that wants to kick this tab back upright. So, normally that almost comes down to like a V, and somewhere in here you're going to have a nice point where it kicks back up. And seeing what angle that is kind of up to you. I could set it as that and be totally happy. I could set it as perfectly horizontal if I want to do like this really linear style. For me, I tend to like a little bit more, flow and rebound to the style. So I like to, so if I'm coming down here, I hit that 45 degrees, what angle would kick it back up like that? So I don't know if that holds any value in like the physics of the letter, and that, if my path is following here, it kicks back up in that direction. But naturally that to me feels the best out of the letter. So now for our crossbar, I'm seeing, so I'm kind of pre-looking at it, right? If I put it way up here, we get super, super small top side, right? Like that's really itty bitty window. If I put it down here, way no go. Look how big the negative space is in there. Like, I don't like that at all. It looks like, I don't know, just too big of a eye in the center. So somewhere in the middle is going to be just right for your style. And then of course the angle of it. So does it come in at a different angle? Is it perfectly like centered on the two angles there, right? Does it make an equilateral triangle all of a sudden? Normally I try to keep out of like perfect orientations. And so I'm kind of seeing this hits a little bit too linear, right? That's too flat compared to what we've already started with. That might be the wrong direction. So I might kind of go like an upward direction. It has a little like kick up there. So I'll kind of just sketch that in softly. And what I sometimes see with letters that do that pick kind of aggressive angles like that is now all of a sudden you'll draw from like this perspective, trying to make it square in your view. And that to me, if you find yourself doing that, means the angle might be a little bit off. So I'm gonna actually go a little bit lower here. We're almost horizontal, right? So perfectly horizontal is like here. I'm barely off horizontal, but just a little bit. So sometimes it can be the most subtle like break from linearity that makes the most of it. And I'm just gonna put that in there. I love, so when we did the crossbar over here, right, we had it extend past both sides. I love with an A to cut it short. So I love when it doesn't go all the way through to both sides. It is such a fun opportunity because if I extended that all the way through, all of a sudden I got to deal with it with this leg. This line especially, like that's getting stuck in this corner, and all of a sudden you've got way, I don't know, 3 lines coming together at a corner. You got a lot to like define there that if you aren't intentional about it, it can really get messy really fast. So a thankful little cheat and hack is stop that line early if you've got other details over here that you want to include. And honestly, we really do have a great A going to start. I think it's time we go back over here. So, right, if we're drawing this, kicks up, you got a cool crisscross slash. I might do kind of a round in there, maybe not. What does vertical look like? So right, if I go vertical, I'm like looking like I'm kind of wide. I got arms coming up on either side. Not going for crab form here. So yeah, maybe. And if I go too low, it looks like kicked off to the side. So yeah, I don't know. And I don't think, like, even if I leave it like that, that's still too much of that, like, crab shape. So I could remedy this a couple ways. I could extend that bar inward here. I don't know that I love that. I kind of liked having an empty bowels here. So if I get stuck with something like this, I might not have enough of the letter set up to make that decision just yet. So I'm trying to tweak it. I tried 3 different ways, didn't work. Okay, I'm gonna move along to something else and try to figure that out after I get more of the letter defined. So let's check out the top of the letter here. I might just take an angle to that. You know, I cut that at an angle, I cut this one at an angle. You almost get a cool like arc to it. So like this one goes up, around, maybe this one we cut down a little bit. That could be a kind of cool transitionary style. And maybe that means we got to have that like the angle over here. Could be something. I'm also seeing some competition, you know, like I said with this crossbar here, I didn't like that it intersected with all that material. I'm getting crossover down in this section with the left leg. So I might just move my lines down. So I'll extend this out a little bit further, and I'll bring our foot down so that we've got still the shape there, but we've now opened this up, right? We still have room between those features, and we can look good. I'm vibing with this original sketch line I had here that comes up, kicks back, and goes down. That could be a fun line to still include here. I find that with pieces is like some of the ghost lines are the best, you know, areas that you sketched previously, and then they're coming back into play with the flow that is now set up. So I might erase away here, so you get a little bit of that. We might need this to be a little bit thicker. And I guess back to line thickness, I've kept a pretty neutral width to all my sections so far. I feel like that's always a safe starting point, and then you can kind of tweak it as you like. All right, I like that. I'm seeing that maybe this line has to be a little bit thicker, so we'll give a little bit more body to our left line here. So I'm going to keep the same line there, just make it a little bit wider. Erase away, see what we're left with. That closes up our window in the middle here, but nothing we can't work with. I think this crossbar is also begging to be the width to be variable. One of my favorite ways to style straight sections is have a thick side on one and a skinny side on the other. So like this line has to transition to a more narrow point. So I think to open this window up and change our thickness, I might come down at a different angle from the top. So you can see now we've got a slightly bigger window, and I didn't change the angle a ton. You know, that's pretty modest all still, and we get a very different approach in there. And honestly, now that we have that approach, it feels like we should have like a little tab coming off the bottom here. I'm running out of eraser already. Let me grab one. I swore with the fresh eraser I'd be all set for the whole tutorial. I don't even know, could you call this a tutorial? More of like a, you know, just kickback session of letter styles. All right, now that I've cleaned up my interior a bit, I might kill that for the time being. We can try to remember to come back to it. I actually don't love the tab we added there. Ooh. So maybe this just needed like a chamfer, a little crisscross. Yeah, maybe we'll just keep it flat for the time being. Ooh, that's kind of an interesting. I naturally had a little arc to this. I kind of like that. Gives like back to oh, which letter was it? I thought at this point maybe the Throwup at one point had. Oh, that stuck with the smile. Okay. So opposite of the smile. Not that it even looks like a frown, you know. It just gives a little bit of a different direction to the cross member there. I don't like how that point's coming out over here. So normally when I don't like a point, I'll extend it a little bit extra, chamfer the corner, and now it gives it some like angle down without putting a tab in there or putting anything. Like it's still just that one block, and that works pretty well here with the cut we put on the right side. I think this this right leg should have the priority here with where you pick the points to terminate. So where those two lines intersect, have it extend a little bit extra and then cut it in. Okay, let's come together. Definitely still need some work over on the bottom section here. I know I made it thicker, but now it looks almost too thick, so I'm gonna cut that back a little bit. Yeah, and don't feel like too committed to any one line. As a letter builds, there's often things that take over and change up your approach a little bit. That would be cool, a tab off of here. Thinking we had a little extra sauce to the top tab, so similar to the hat that we looked at earlier, you can make a little edge to the top side on the opposite direction. So in a lot of ways, we've styled this this A kind of mirrored to the straight letter we started with. And yeah, so now that I got that, I'm feeling like, all right, we need something saucy and kicked out over here. And this is the phase I really like. So you can see it accidentally extended that line too far. Perfect. I love that I've got some extra footing to work with now. And I'm getting more expressive now that we have our core, right, all set up. And this is honestly when your style comes out, right? I've got what I think looks cool and edgy and all, but it's totally up to you and your letters for what you do at the ends of your lines and how you make them into shapes that give kind of the personality to your letter. Sweet. So we've done a lot everywhere else. Back to the final boss here of how we work on this letter, edge. So I might go super expressive. I don't have any reason for why I just drew those lines that way. It was just the flow, right? I was kicking things out with hard points before, just taking myself from established points on the letter and giving them some flair, and seeing from this place, where does that line kind of feel its way out? And then back down here, if I'm cut down here, where do we jog that around to give some extra style to it? And all of that didn't get me where I was going. I don't see anything there. So I'll erase away what I've added and try to work now from what I see. We have a pretty good like flat bottom to the letter over here. I don't know that I love to duplicate that on this side. So I might, I kind of am naturally going that way anyways, let's see. And yeah, maybe I'm gonna let my eyes go a little gray here and see where we can find the shape here. Oh, that could be cool. So you know how we did kind of rounding our shapes there? So we got maybe a flow here. So like the left side goes down and under, and you see we got upward round there. So we go down and then it flows. That could be sweet. And we could even tell the story there. So like if I include that direction to it, it's really suggestive that it gets over there. If I don't include that, it kind of becomes more open-ended, I guess. Not as feeding the, leading the witness and feeding the story right on. It's funny, I could literally sit here for probably the next 20 minutes working out exactly how I want this to land. Because yeah, it's close, but it's not perfect. So I'm gonna delete away other things and really try to find what this wants to be. And two, you know, that was one of my like first lines. I might be like trying to overcommit to that. So sometimes erasing it away reveals a more present, you know, and current version of what the letter shape should look like. Because I might have set myself up for a little bit of failure from the beginning in trying to force fit that feature. This is pretty cool. What if I like pull this line over here a little bit? And you can see I'm somewhat moving away from the super linear piece, and I've got a little bit more, you know, like monster style to it. All right, I like that. Yeah, so I might just give a hook to the left side here. And then we can add some of those too throughout. So, you know, just extending the line a little bit further in kind of a wave shape gives you kind of this like edge to it. All right, I think we got a sweet structure here. Let's add, yeah, maybe a bit or two. So I'm seeing that when I add a bit or a box or a little half round, I try to pick sections that need a little bit extra compensation with the letter. So might be too small, might not have enough weight to it. Whatever it is, sometimes some areas need a little extra attention. I'm looking at this section here, right? Like, it feels like the A is coming around. Oftentimes, your next letter might compensate for it in this zone. So if the A was like the first letter in my name, my go-to is like up here. Off to the left, rounds out kind of your entrance into the piece. Having bits on the edges of your letter, super helpful. But if I'm middle of the letter and need something helpful over here, I'm going kind of bottom side, adding some bits. And this one actually is asking for a half moon, just so it can like teeter-totter, stand on top of the ball a little bit. And these two can get a little bit of funky style on them. Okay, sweet. And now gotta go, I think we're right side oriented here with our 3D. So I'm just gonna pretty much go at 45 degrees. I'm gonna draw that line off of every corner. If you don't know what corner to draw it on every one, and maybe a couple across the line. So you can see if I draw it throughout the whole piece here, I will slowly build a 3D shape. And even so, like sections up here, that little point gets a teeny tiny piece, but as I'm drawing at that same angle, I'm not getting any 3D on this top line. You might find yourself wanting to put, you know, oh, I got a line over here, throw that 3D in. That is a telltale sign of like not correctly thinking about your 3D. If you pick your angle, stick to that. It doesn't change throughout your piece. There are some exceptions if you're doing like a vanishing point and whatnot, but if you're doing just a 45, pick your angle, stick to it, and just flick it away. Now, while I've got all those lines set up, I can start transferring the edge lines of my letter into the 3D. So like I did with having 3 lines across there, you kind of get a preview of where those all go. So I'm going to take this line, right, and I'm just going to draw it along its direction down there. You can see this line here is kind of already set up for us right there. Going to pick this vertical line and just add it to the end. So as you walk around your piece, pick the same angle as your outline and redraw it. Pick the same angle here and redraw it. You'll slowly put together your 3D, but you don't have to overthink it. It's kind of a really simple way to go about it. Down here at the bottom is a fun one because you see it kind of peaks out, right? You're barely getting 3Ds throughout here. So same is true. I take this kind of rounded shape and I'll slowly round it beyond the outline. So I'll slowly get that there. And you can see that it'll eventually go into nothing, right? At some point that angle is underneath the letter, but you get it to slowly come out there. Here we got this line here. I'm just going to start from my corner, place it in there, excuse me, get our lines going. And bits are so helpful to get a little bit of variety in your letter. So you can see that bit almost looks like it's over top of our crossbar there. It adds a lot with your 3D once you add the bits in there. Sweet. Yeah, that's pretty much all the 3D there. All right, so I'm gonna start filling this in. Take your time and come up and reference what I'm drawing here a few times over, because I'm sure I moved a little quick at times, but if you see your letter, take a moment to look at it kind of section by section. So does your letter have the same width to this top line? And then does it get a little bit wider as it goes over to the right? Those are kind of the best ways to inspect your piece for its accuracy towards what I drew here. It's super easy to have lines like trail off and go the wrong way a little bit, and then all of a sudden this arc, right, is it going down and to the right? Is it making that shape? If yours is straight or yours is arced upwards, as long as you made that choice intentionally, all good. But if you just put that line in there and didn't think about it, its shape can change a lot about it. So double check that, double check which direction are lines flowing compared to what I've drawn here. And by no means is this the only way to draw it. You can certainly style it basically infinitely and come up with something cool. It's just the mental game of like, did I intend to do that? Is that the best version of that section in the letter? Because I find that as the biggest thing when I am lazy in the letter. I won't intentionally pick where my line's flowing, or maybe like the left and the right side are going opposite directions and they're peeling away from each other. And that changes the style of your piece a lot, and it can impact you poorly. So if you want a safe default, I recommend keeping the line straight and consistent. So the left side of your line and the right side of your line, keep those going in the same path. And then as you get better, you'll learn which ones want to be bent a little bit, and if something needs to arc a little bit different, how to make that happen. So yeah, a lot of my lines here are pretty straight, and they don't change direction as compared to the opposite side of the line. But I'd definitely be interested to see what you guys come up with. So yeah, send me copies of the pieces you work on and the styles you make here, and I'd like to see how it compares. Here my 3D got extended a little bit, so I have to bring that out. And honestly, this is my favorite phase of drawing a piece. You get the chance to like really commit to your lines, really make like the corners perfect. And I feel like I should fill in the 3D as well. I'll make it a little bit punchier, get some good contrast off the page here. And I'm going through and making some of my outline a little bit thicker than just single stroke of pencil. Totally up to you. Once again, that's a opportunity to add a little bit more style to the letter, and not something that everybody does, but it's something that I think fits my style. So I like to change that up a little bit, not commit to just super skinny outline. I like to have a little bit of meat to mine. And then, yeah, definitely use your eraser as like a cut back. Get some really sharp corners to the crisscrosses of two letters, or two strokes of the letter. Nice, yeah. This is gonna look sweet. Yeah, and I hope this is kind of a chill intro to the series. My goal with the whole series is just gonna be feeling out, what letters can be under some different styles, and yeah, just try to have kind of an open session with styling stuff, talking through my thought process, and giving a little bit of background to how I like to put letters together. Because I don't know, I feel like the last few styles I have been designing, it's just been a introspection thing, right? I've been doing it, haven't had the opportunity to kind of nerd out and talk about it a little bit. So I feel like this format can lend itself to a little bit of experimentation with the letters, and try to have some fun along the way with sharing the process, and building out a little bit of a series here where we can work through the alphabet and some different setups. I don't know, I feel like I've never committed to an alphabet series outside of like my style series, and that's all well and good, but in the style series video, you learn kind of the high level detail, and then I go through the whole alphabet, and it's like I don't spend any time on the individual letters, right? There's no love to the A any more than the X, Y, and Z. So it's like, what can we do here to make it a little bit more of a one-on-one? And I feel like there's really good opportunity for me to learn by going through the practice myself. It's so fun to get yourself stuck in a corner, right, with the bottom of this A, and feel out how to get that to the right place. Because when, I don't know, I feel like those skills of mine get enhanced, it just feels that they're more tuned for when I need to do them for my own letters. And I can practice up and incorporate what I learned here into my SI and V, and go find interesting ways to solve those problems too. Yeah, and I hope this is kind of a nice pace to it for learning as I go through. But I'm certainly way open to feedback on the format and the structure here. So let me know if you guys are following along and having fun with the practice too. Because my hope here is that this is a little bit of an amorphous give and take. If there's something that is really pertinent to do a deep dive into, I'm happy to hear from you guys and hear what styles you might be struggling with, or what features you might want to add to your letters, because I study styles here and there, but honestly I feel like this will give me a good chance to go browse and develop some new styles to see what really can the letters get pushed to in different ways. Because yeah, I don't know, I felt like that A throwy was something I wouldn't do naturally. If I'm not putting myself in the scenario where I have to practice it and try it out, I'm probably gonna avoid, you know, doing those reps, but this series should hopefully get interesting with, you know, what we can do in different styles and what different letters get us involved in. Yeah, this, oh my gosh, this is good fun. That's my hope too, is like if I can you know, share the fun that is, right, just sitting down styling some letters. That's really the core of a lot of my art in day by day, is, you know, having fun building and having fun messing with things. And I feel like graffiti's the perfect opportunity for that. Have a little bit of self-expression in your style choices, as well as, you know, have an opportunity just to like kick back and, you know, mess with something, tweak it, tinker on it. And that's something that, I don't know, every time I'm like doing a little project, whether it's like doing some stencils or something and testing out colorways, or I'm doing a little piece and I'm just scrawling out some flow, that's where all the fun in letter structure comes for me, is, you know, the laboratory process of like, all right, how do I tweak this? What do I change there, to really get something out of the letter? So I feel like I don't get a chance to share that a lot. And you know, with the high production kind of videos, it's like, oh shit, this is like one-on-one, got to make the cuts look cool, got to make the edit look smooth, got to get the colors just right. And half the time throughout that, I'm just, you know, having good fun while I'm kind of working through the mind game of how do I make this style look good with my letters on top of one another. So my fastest approach to that was, hey, let's just do a chill sit down, and hopefully that translated a little bit. So you guys got a little practice in hand, and I got to do it as well, which is always good fun. All right. Well, yeah, I guess I'll leave you with that here. Definitely take a stab or a screenshot of this and reference it, or run it back to the start if you want to practice stuff over. I hope it was really helpful. I hope this was a fun little sit down, and I hope that you were able to get inside my mind a little bit with how I like to approach letter building. And like I said earlier, if you've got a style in mind, or if you force me to do a letter next time, let me know. I'll be happy to oblige, and we can make a fun little alphabet series out of this. All right, definitely a big thank you to the little A that started us off, and the few styles we got through today. That's gonna do it for me, guys. Peace. What are we getting into over here?